Good evening, folks. This is Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, bringing you a grand solar minimum update on Saturday, February 10th, 9:20 p.m. Mountain Time, 2018. You're looking at the GOES X-ray flux 1-minute data, and you can clearly see a C flare 14 hours ago shot off of that active region 2699, and there may be more to come. We'll be watching it. Let's take a quick look. Sunspot group 2699 continues to transit the Earth-facing side of the sun and is now approaching center disk. The active region did manage a C46 flare a few hours ago, actually 14 hours ago. And the new spot formation is being observed today within the center of the cluster. Perhaps this will boost the chances for additional flares, and there will remain a chance for isolated moderate M flares. Let's take a look. Come over to the disk, click on it. Here's a developing region. And we can come on active region 2699. You can see how wide apart the umbra are now? The trailing and leading. But if you look in the middle here, we have some blue, red, blue, some negative, positive mixing. So this is going to be beta delta or beta gamma. My apologies. But we still have a 40% C, 15% M, and 1% X flare probability, as this spot for the next 24 hours will be directly Earth facing. Let's talk about the weather. Great Lakes ice cover races past 50%. This was several days ago. You'll be getting links to all of this. And let's do a quick side-by-side. Great Lakes ice coverage 2017 versus 2016. You can quickly see 4.4% ice coverage on the 12th. Last year, 12.2% coverage this year. I'll leave you links to that visual. But if we come 3 days later to NOAA's Great Lakes Coastal Forecasting System, as it raced past 50%, we are right now currently at 64.3%. And that's today's first boom, which was sent in by a subscriber's kid who made it. And that was pretty awesome. Thank you guys for making that boom for us. NOAA Great Lakes Coastal Forecasting System has observed Superior being at 69.8% coverage, Erie at 95.1%, and Ontario still at only 20%, which is providing this region with amazing amounts of lake effect snow. And we'll get on with that. But quickly, we'll look at the maximum ice cover on the Great Lakes. I have this great visual here of the last 45 years. And as we just saw, we were over 65%. And there are only a dozen years above 65% for the entire year. So we're headed up here into record territory, but you can clearly see there is no global warming just based on the Great Lakes ice. You can see a cyclic up and down of the ice coverage on the Great Lakes. Now, 2018 is going to be a record year. We could get, I'm going to say, into the 70-80% range, which is way up here. And it will only increase as the years progress to 100% until the Great Lakes are frozen. Snowfall totals climb after Midwest storm, and roads remain treacherous. A winter storm that they named in the Midwest from Chicago to Detroit has swept drivers up in a flurry. Michigan cities are seeing snowfall totals climb towards record high Saturday. And the state's Department of Transportation said it is still witnessing a number of crashes and road closures. The snow totals for Detroit, 9.2 inches at Detroit Metro, according to Jordan Dale, whoever that guy is. Friday's storm dumped 6 inches across the city, but over the last 24 hours, suburbs bordering Chicago got hit much worse. We covered on that yesterday. Several communities saw over 13 inches, according to the National Weather Service. Storms caused many school closings Friday, and the kids were sledding their arses off. Cloudy skies today in Kansas, flurries across most of which. Here's the forecast through Sunday morning. The snow is not going to stop, and neither is the cold. Very cold weather will affect Kansas with highs in the teens and 20s. Wind chills will be the single digits, 10 below zero this morning. So the center of the country not looking good. 25 feet of snow. Tiny Town remains the snowiest spot in the Great Lakes. Heads up, Rochester, New York. Midway through the winter, the Oswego County hamlet named Redfield, which we reported on several weeks ago during the Erie bombogenesis, It now remains the snowiest spot in all the Great Lakes. They just broke 300 inches, 25 feet Thursday night. And that's boom. Oh my goodness. That's a big boom. Redfield last winter won the first ever Golden Snowdrift Award, which the Democrat and Chronicle bestows on the Great Lakes community with the most snow. They average over 350 inches, and they're going to crush that this year. I bet you they're going to top out at around 425. And that is my official forecast for Redfield. 420. Let's round it down. Makes me feel good. Record snowfall, more expected through the weekend. Windsor, Canada saw a record of 18.4 centimeters of snow on the ground Friday, with more expected to continue to fall through Saturday and Sunday, which is now and tomorrow. This guy has a scooter he has to shovel with. Would someone help him? Jesus. Windsor saw 18.4 centimeters of snow on the ground on Friday, with more expected to continue to fall now and then tomorrow, according to those people. In addition to all this, it's going to be really cold at -3. And by Wednesday, some of the snow may begin to melt because it's going to warm up to 1. And that's a cigarette in the mouth. Heads up, snow boom. Ho ho! Look at the tree shift. I mean, that is a big one. Snow route parking ban takes effect after record snowfall. Wow, thank you, global warming. I wouldn't know what to do with all the snow if it hadn't been for you. This is coming from Calgary. There is a parking ban because they have to move the snow because it's at record levels. With 13.2 centimeters of snow yesterday, it was Calgary's snowiest February 8th, which is actually 2 days ago, in 130 years. So here's the record back in 1880 something. And here's the new second place. And I have some more visuals on that. So let's quick take a look at what we got here. We've got a huge graph, and I'm going to shrink down top 10 Calgary daily snowfalls for February 8th. And you got to go back to 1888. That's a boom. Because something must have happened in 1888. That we're going to go look at because we like to check our sources. Oh, 1888. 88. Oh, it is the solar minimum of cycle 12. Very similar to where we are here in cycle 24. So next year they'll blow the 1888 record out of the water because our TSI and our sunspot count will be lower than it was back here in 1888. During solar minimum of 12. Notice how it's off the deck here. We're going to be on the ground next year, which means 0 sunspots for at least 2 years. Now let's look at the linear progression from that massive centennial minimum snow event to today. And you can clearly see that the February 8th snow events are increasing from 2000 to present in a directly straight up fashion, which you would expect during an ongoing descent into the grand solar minimum associated with a maximum shift into glaciation. So much more to cover. Not enough time to cover it. Weather warnings for snow, ice, and hail extended into Monday, but will we be hit? The Met Office is warning of ice and snow in the Northeast over the weekend, with bad weather forecast to last longer than first thought. Then first thought? When did we have a first thought? Probably not in a while. But it looks like 0 degrees everywhere, warming up to 3 in Exeter. Weather warnings for snow ice have been extended until Monday afternoon. The Northeast is braced for rain, sleet, and even snow over the weekend as temperatures plummet once again. Ooh, a new weather warning for snow has been issued Monday, although most of the Northeast is expected to avoid the worst weather, and you will get links to this. I'm sure they're blowing it out of proportion, as they always do over there in the UK. But that stratospheric anomaly is going to take place, and the end of February is not looking good for you guys over there. Scotland, heads up. Should be very cold. totally fluxed in the U.S. Heavy rains leading to flooding. Dickinson County is under a state of emergency. That's in Virginia, as well as Tennessee, Georgia had flood advisories today. South Carolina, the entire East Coast, and now it's moving up into New England. And if this ever loads, we'll talk about it. There it is. First alert. With each computer model forecast a slightly different rain total, it's looking heavy in the Northeast. And you're looking at over 3.16 inches in Philly, forecast 3 in Burlington, 2.7 in Trenton, 2.7 in Doylestown, over 3 inches in Westchester. So that's all downtown Philly. There might be snow on the ground, especially in the burbs. It's going to cause extra runoff and flooding. And that is going to be another flood advisories all day tomorrow. And this region is where the highest totals are expected. So that's a heads up. Flood watch is already in effect. And this will probably move up into the Boston area and up into Maine as this storm moves north. Yes. Twitter. Let's talk about this hail, record-setting hail in Cordoba, Spain. This is a 23-centimeter hail bomb, and we've been reporting on the hail that caused the riots during the Great Famine in London in 1800. That was 18-centimeter hail destroying the crops. And here in Cordoba, Spain, we have 23-centimeter hail. Do not get hit by that, because that's a boom. That's a hailstorm from hell. And so is this guy's fingernails, man. Cut those. That is the nastiest. Ugh. I'm glad I just erased that. Seismic update. We have some activity in Southwest Africa, as well as a 5.8 popping off in Papua New Guinea. And here's some aftershock activity in the Kodiak region, 3.8. We're still, the only other quake of note is a 5.1 aftershock in Noviembre, Mexico, after the 5.8 yesterday. Mid-ocean ridge is spreading. Here, Southwest Africa, the Southeast Indian ridge as well. And just in time for the Olympics, a small 4.8 in South Korea. And that's a heads up to the opening games. And that was the opening boom, apparently. Nothing like that. Thank you, Kim Jong-un. Quick volcano update. Karaminsk, Popocatépetl, Dukono, Reventador, Aoba. We have an ongoing volcanic ash emission at Reventador. Continuous volcanic emissions at Dukono. Volcanic ash emissions from Popo today. Karaminsk. Volcanic ash was not identifiable from satellite imagery, but reported, and Aoba has continuous low-level volcanic ash emissions to the northeast. You can see it, a little smear there. So I'll leave you links to that. Nothing really spectacular going on, but this coming out from the Daily Intelligence study. Climate change probably won't kill all of us. Well, thank you, you happy-go-lucky folks. How many will it kill? Well, there's stories about global warming, so it's nonsense. But real quick, we'll look at my world population projection scenarios, including 50% probability on the first graph. And here we have a great linear progression from 1200 to 2600. And you can see here we are at the peak and potentially an initial drop-off. Because this is all related to the innovation rate. The innovation rate peaked here in 1900. And has been quickly dropping off. And we've become vapid fools staring at the ground into our squares and getting hit by buses. So the first scenario is because too many people are getting hit by buses because they're absolute sheep. And the grand solar minimum plus global famine will cause population density to go to zero, essentially, which means less than 10,000 by 2200. And here are the other less tragic scenarios, but they all contain way worse population density scenarios. If we go over here, this is a climate change progression from a supercomputer, and you can scarily see that in this blue peak here, case 2, it drops off and there's a loss of 2.5 million people in just a few decades. Here we have a loss of 4 million to 5 million people over a period of 200 years. Here we have a loss of 1.5 million people in a decade, and here a loss of 1 million over 4 decades. Starting now. Here's a world population computer model based on climate change. And you can see this is where we are now. And there's a population reduction of 70% before 2100. A small recovery and so on until we're in either Mars or Jesus comes back. Here's another climate supercomputer model run. And again, we have a steep drop down here in the blue, case 2. This is dropping off from 9 billion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, straight down to 0. All these probabilities go straight to 0, except for red, which has a pretty rapid decline to about 2.3 million, slight rise, and a drop down to 0. Quick recovery and a drop down to 0, which means uncertainty when you get into a statistical model. So red basically is a best case scenario, and I would go with green, black, or blue. And that's everybody dying except the few that are properly prepared. Everyone. It's a grim scenario, but those that are prepared can survive and thrive if they're in the right location. You cannot be in a major city. You cannot be by the shoreline. You cannot be controlled by major airports and roads. You have to be in a very rural setting where they won't bother even coming looking for you. And while you're there, you're going to know how to grow cool season crops, because these are also crops that require low light. And most people are going to be affected by cool fluctuations in temperature. Even though there might be super droughts or super heat waves, that is going to be interspersed with anomalous frosts and freezes late and early summer and on, as well as 23 centimeter hail, which we've already seen in Cordoba, Spain in the last 24 hours. So here's a list of cold region crops. You should buy these seeds and stockpile them. You should also start planting them right now and getting to learn how to grow them. If you're in the northern hemisphere, now's the time to plant all these seeds. If it's really cold outside and snowing, plant them inside in the window. These can all withstand temperatures above 18 degrees once they're established. And if you use crop covers or row covers or blankets at night, you can grow these above 18 degrees, even if it gets down to 18 at night. So I'll leave you links to this article. You better get knowledgeable. You will not get knowledgeable unless you start trying to do this. You cannot learn how to grow food by reading a book. You have to fail profusely. You're going to fail again and again and again at growing, and you have to keep trying again and again to be successful. Here's 30 plus vegetables that grow in the shade. This will be good if a VEI 7 blows off. So here it says, do you have an area in your garden that is shaded part of the day? Did a VEI 7 just go off during the grand solar minimum? If you think you can grow anything anywhere, then that's a boom. Because you can. Because there's a whole list of vegetables. Wow, look at that shift. That's amazing. Whew. There's a whole bunch of vegetables that grow in the shade. We're not talking full shade. Look at this. This is old Amish deer tongue or old speckles. An awesome type of lettuce. And we got red romaine, some pak choi here, and some, oh man, this is amazing. Look at these lettuces. Okay, let me get back to what we're saying. Understanding sun exposure gives you background. Embrace your microclimate. Some nice mustards growing there. But there are 30 plus vegetables that will grow in shade, and this will give you a heads up to who they are and what they do. So there's a lot to eat without supplemental lighting during the grand solar minimum, even if a VEI 6 or 7 goes off and it shades the sun out. Now, we had full shade today, and my geothermal greenhouse was operating in full shade while it was snowing. So there, with a 25-watt solar panel. So the new panels that are coming out, even in low light, will run a small fan and function your geothermal greenhouse. And at the same time, all of these crops only require low light. And if you don't start practicing now, guys, you know that Prior planning prevents piss poor performance, especially in a grand solar minimum. Look at that red Russian kale. Look at that giant mustard. Look at that lettuce. Root crops, parsnips, carrots, onions, leeks, beets, chard. There's a lacinato kale. If you can't ring off the names of these vegetables, then you are not ready. There's a Bloomsdale spinach. You need to get your hands dirty. You should be planting seeds this spring. You should be planting right now in your kitchen, by the window. Fail. Red Russian kale is a definite winner. Put it in dirt, water it, and you win. It grows everywhere. You won't figure this out until you start failing. So start practicing. I left you the links, and there are plenty of YouTube pages that will tell you how to get started. And that is a heads up, hokey style. Quick shout out to all the new Patreons. If it weren't for you, I would not be doing daily updates. There's no way I would spend 5 hours a day after I work 10 hours a day running myself ragged for nothing. But you give me hope. So thank you, Kat, Kathleen, Rachel, Gizmom, Terry, Michael and Nancy, Ian, Kevin, Tracy and Rob. You know who you are if I didn't say your name. You're keeping me going. And you also have a direct connection to the ranch. So I hope I see you guys all this summer. Guys, I hope you got something out of the video. As we know, the history does repeat itself. Now, back in 1800, during the Dalton Minimum, this little blip, there were food riots in London because of 18-centimeter hail destroyed the crops. Just yesterday in Cordoba, Spain, we had that same 23-centimeter hail returning. Because just like during the Dalton Minimum, total solar irradiance has returned to the same place and cosmic ray flux is increasing. So the weather is going to become unstable, and these cold patterns are going to be responsible for crop loss, famine, and global unrest in a few years. So start preparing and be safe.